Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prophet podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprophet.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everybody to the Fantasy Football Prophet podcast. I'm Craig, joined by Jeff, and today we're going to get into the wide receiver rankings. And I think this one is going to be a lot less consensus than the last, except for maybe what you think. The first, I'm going to take a guess right now and say our first 8 spots might have the same players. I don't know for sure, but it could be. If not, we have at least probably 9 of the same top 10.
I would say 8. I think you're right on 8. Just looking at who's there, I think top 8. And then I bet we'll probably have a very close, maybe in the top 13. Maybe. And then after that, I think we'll start.
You might have a guy 12 who I have 30.
Yeah, I think
it's going to be.
Yeah, the difference between wide receivers and running backs is going to be quite different.
This is going to be interesting because we're doing this blind. We have not seen each other's rankings, so we're going to kind of go through it. We're basically. This episode, we're going to do about a top 25. We're not saying exactly a top 25 because I'll have somebody in my top 25 that Jeff doesn't. So it's not going to be exactly, but that's kind of our cutoff. About 25 players, top 25. We'll do another episode this week where we're going to go probably 25 through 50-ish in that range. And these later round guys, because wide receiver is deep.
Yeah, and so within that, we'll probably hit, my guess is low 60s.
Yeah,
we'll
talk about
wide receiver
60
position.
wide receivers, but I mean, there's so much value out there, I think.
Yeah, and we'll get to it. We'll just dive right in.
All right, before we get to that, just want to mention a few things we got going on. We have our review contest going on, which with the review contest, pretty simple. All you got to do is leave us a review on iTunes. I know Stitcher, you can leave reviews. There's other places. Wherever you listen to the podcast, wherever you want to leave a review, just leave us a review. Then send us an email to fantasyfootballprophet@gmail.com. Let us know where you wrote the review, what your name is there, so we can enter you into our contest. And the winner of the contest is going to get a custom podcast for your own fantasy league. So with that, once your league drafts, you'll give us all the information on your teams, your league, maybe background information, whatever you want to get in there. We're going to make a podcast about it, talk about your league, our predictions, all that good stuff. We'll also have those out for other people who don't win the contest, but that might be a little bit of a price tag for that. We'll get more information on that going as we get actually closer to the season and people draft teams. But if you want to get a free one, get your reviews in, send them to us. You can also let us know on Twitter at the FF Prophet where your review is. That's another place to let us know. Go to fantasyfootballprophet.com. There's a contact us form on there too. You can let us know that way. But I think we should just get right into it here, Jeff.
Let's do it. Number 1. Who do you got?
Number 1. My number 1 is going to be no surprise. I mean, pretty much it's most people's number 1, but it's not going to be everybody's number 1 because I think I already know one of Jeff's number 1s. Antonio Brown's my first player. He's been, you can't go wrong with it. He's been extremely consistent. It's really not much to say about it. He's been great. He catches a ridiculous amount of passes. The offense is great. You can't go wrong with picking him number 1. There's really not much to say.
Everyone knows about the guy. He's unbelievable. Every year in and year out, he's great. I have him in number 2 actually.
Yep.
I'm kind of bucking the trend. I'm going with who was the reigning wide receiver of last year. I actually like Mike Evans. I see, and believe me, I have nothing wrong with Antonio Brown or anything like that. Mike Evans just was wonderful last year. He's such a big body. He catches a lot of touchdowns. Obviously, he has a great rapport with his quarterback, and I think that offense is built so he can actually improve on those numbers from last year, which were wonderful. So, you get O.J. Howard and Deshaun Jackson. Mm-hmm. I think it gives him more ability to maybe get one-on-one coverage, and, you have one more year of that very good young quarterback, getting reps under his belt. So you think he makes a few more passes down the field to him, and all of a sudden he has a couple hundred more yards with a few more touchdowns maybe.
Evans is just he got all the targets in the world last year. I wonder if that's going to slow down slightly, but I don't think it's going to matter because I think there are going to be more quality targets when he gets them anyway. A lot of those extra targets were really Winston just forcing him the ball because he had nowhere to go with it.
Yeah, and I don't think that I don't think that'll change too much because, first of all, they're going to wait on their running game to kind of come into validity when They actually get the muscle hamster back from suspension, and then I think it's a good thing. O.J. Howard probably will take a little while to come on like most tight ends do. Deshaun Jackson will be able to plug in and play right away. But I think that's something they were sorely missing last year is that number 2. And I don't think the world of Deshaun Jackson anymore, but I think he's very capable of at least taking some pressure off of Evans.
And he can still stretch the field a bit. He's getting older, but the guy still has speed. He can get out there. It's somebody for them to pay attention to.
Yeah,
they didn't have Adam Humphries basically last year.
Exactly.
That's pretty much what they had there. So and Vincent Jackson the year before even was already slowing down. He wasn't stretching the field.
He wasn't himself anymore.
He wasn't doing much there. It's just some stats I found here. Antonio Brown had about 13.4 points per game fantasy wise. Mike Evans 13. So it's not crazy. That's not that far off at all. And Evans he's going to get touchdowns. It's just going to be
And you're really arguing, very little. I don't think even in the running back situation. David Johnson was a good amount of points ahead of the next one because he just outperformed them. This one I think is going to be incredibly close, especially in that top 3-4 positions. I think it's going to be a cluster up there at wide receiver. So, arguing that Mike Evans is going to be over Antonio Brown might actually not be a huge difference, which is why I believe, especially in that top 4 guys you get, you're just looking for the best deal you can.
Yeah, and at this point, really, you can't go wrong with any of them. So
no, you can't.
And you're only probably going to be able to get one of them, unless you're me and you're in a keeper league and you have both Odell Beckham and Mike Evans.
Yeah, I hate you a lot.
But who's your you have
so Mike Evans number 1, and I did go Antonio Brown is number 2. Yeah.
My number 2 is actually going to be Julio.
Julio, okay,
right? Yeah.
And it's not surprising that he's in that top 4, but
here I have some hesitation. Okay, this is basically at this point it's early. Rankings could change. It's got over 3.5 months of the season. This is a big if. If Julio stayed healthy, he'd be my number 2. Because I think when healthy, this guy is ridiculous. The problem is his health has been not the greatest last couple years, and he seems to play all the time. It's just he's always has this lingering foot injury or whatever. That's the problem with him, and I know that's going to be that's why he probably should be maybe lower, but
yeah. And you already took my knock against him. Yep. That's nothing. And I really do believe that Julio Jones is the best wide receiver in the game right now. If you're just going purely about football, I have him ranked at number 4, just to let you know. But and that is why though, because I think health, reasons. I think the other 3 guys I have ranked above him tend to miss, one less game, which is pretty big when you're talking about these final rankings points wise. And then the other reason as well is because the other guys I think have for whatever reason this may be, but they have a just better ability to catch touchdowns. And I don't know, maybe because teams key on Julio Jones more, especially in the red zone, or Atlanta can get easier matchups because everyone's doubling down on him. I'm not sure what it is, but those other guys seem to catch a few more touchdowns every year than he does. So that's the other reason. So, but I have no problem with Julio. He's on such a wonderful offense. He is beyond talented. So number 2 is fine with me.
Yeah, and then let's see here. My number 3 was Evans. So I didn't go. I actually put Evans number 3, which means I have him one spot ahead of Odell Beckham, who's my number 4.
And Odell Beckham is number 3 for me. And
Odell's going to put up huge games. Maybe this is me being an Odell owner and getting frustrated with those 60 point. That'd be great. 60-yard games. But the thing is, even with that's pretty much his floor. That's what those bad games he gets. He has like 60 yards. So he's still getting you 6 points. You just get so used to the Odell 25-point, 30-point games where he just goes nuts. It's not always going to happen, but he has more players around. He has Brandon Marshall out there. They just picked up Evan Ingram, the tight end. There's still Sterling Shepard. So there's more weapons around him, so maybe he can get free a little bit more, but still, he's top 4. He's right there.
Yeah. And another guy I can't say anything bad about besides for, consistency last year. A lot of people talked about his maturity level and everything like that. By the end of the year, no one was worrying about that. He bounced right back after those couple games of slow start. He's wonderful. He's going to have some of those games that are just absolutely going to win you weeks. So that's wonderful. That's always a plus.
Yep.
So, yeah, and I think those are the top 4 guys that we just talked about. I think those are just lock and load, play them.
Oh, yeah.
No hesitation whatsoever. And I probably have another 5 that I'm very, very happy with. But those top, I think, are a tier on their own.
Yep. No, they definitely are. That's the number 1 tier. That's where it stops, is with those guys. So they're good. They're all good right there. And if you have any of them on your team, you're going to be happy about it. So I'm good with all of them. Who's then number 5, Jeff?
I think we're going to differ on this one. I have him a little higher than most people do, but I'm actually going for Dez.
All right.
So Dez Bryant, number 5 for me. Obviously, he was hurt a lot of last year, and having Dak Prescott as your quarterback probably scared people off last year, even before his injury and everything like that. But he's proved that he's a very capable quarterback. When they played together, Dez was doing wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
So I have no doubts that he's going to put up big numbers. He is just a monster on the field. He never takes a game off. So I love Dez.
He was
Bryant.
great at the end of last year, except for 1 week.
Yeah, bring it up. He screwed me over so bad. I should have ranked him number 50th just for how bad he got.
But other than that 1 week, he was great. Oh. And actually, I feel like he's moving up the ranks a little bit, and he's higher than you might have expected. With Fantasy Pros, they have their consensus ranks right now with like 40 experts, so it's always a good spot to kind of see where, what the fantasy community's thinking. I mean, they have Dez 7th right now. I have him 6th, actually.
Yeah, okay.
So,
well, that's good. I honestly kind of thought he would probably hover near the bottom of the 10.
People, I think, are that end of the year, how well he did play. I think people are expecting good things from him.
Well, they should.
My only worry is Dak Prescott. Honestly,
you're worried about a regression.
Yeah, I don't.
But even with that, though, tell me he demands so many balls.
Yeah, but there's no one else to throw the ball to.
Yeah, exactly. Who are you going to go?
Terrence
Williams, Cole Beasley,
Jason
Witten isn't
Cole Beasley maybe
aging. Yeah. But that run game is so solid. They won't be able to. I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to put up major numbers this year.
Yep. So my number 5 is AJ Green. He's my 5th player. I just think we're going to have when he plays, he's great. Last year, that injury just kind of dropped him down. But I'm hoping people kind of forget it, but not they're going to forget about AJ Green. But I hope he drops to the bottom half of the top 10, and he's a player I can get as my wide receiver too, which I don't think will happen, but I'd love it for it to happen. People maybe fall in love with some of these other guys, but I think he's going to have a huge bounce back year with John Ross out there now to help him a little bit. Tyler Eifert, hopefully healthy. I think it's going to be a good year for AJ. Where do you have him?
I have AJ number 6, so I have him next.
So we just switched around AJ and Dez, so we're kind of pretty much right on with that. And actually, the consensus I can't talk ranked for AJ is 5th. So
is it really 5th?
I actually he's the 5th one. So I mean, everyone's pretty much on this. It's very similar here.
I believe, if I am correct, after looking at his numbers from last year, I think if you average them out, he was actually on pace to actually beat his all-time yardage record, which, I mean, he was really just killing people.
And they should have a better run game this year too to help. That should be a decent offense. I think Mixon will be good. Hill's there. I mean, Joe.
I think you hit it right on the head too. If Eifert can stay healthy,
that's a big.
I mean, that's a huge if. But if he can, that's a huge help to that offense. That could be.
And Dalton's fine. He's not great, but he's good enough.
With those weapons, though, his numbers should increase.
And I'm not a huge fan of his, but we'll do quarterbacks next week. But I'm not a huge fan, but he's good enough. He's good enough to sustain a fantasy offense.
Yeah, not someone I'm going to get excited about.
All right, so number 7. This is where I don't know where we're going to go here. Who'd you go?
Because of his age, I wanted to drop him down, but he's just too damn good. So I have Jordy Nelson there.
So do I.
And I mean, you look at his numbers, and we've talked about him before. But you look at his numbers, and they're ridiculous. Mm-hmm. I mean, the touchdowns he gets, he's playing with the best quarterback in the league. I don't know what else to say about him. I couldn't drop him any lower than number 7, which is, obviously you saw the guys above him. Yep. They're all amazing as well. So
I couldn't either. I'm worried about the age. I'm worried about just the million weapons, but it's hard to predict when somebody's going to finally fall off. It really is hard to predict.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to be here, but that might mean I still might avoid him because I don't want to get the guy who just I pay this kind of price for and isn't the same guy. So
I agree, but
he's
so consistent
it's hard
too.
But you can't predict that.
Yeah, exactly,
and that's why I predict it. And I'm not going to throw it in my ranks because that's just This is where he should be based off the production he's had in the offense he's in. If he falls off, he falls off. No, you don't know. You don't know.
No. I don't think he could fall off drastically. I mean, I'm trying to think what he was actually ranked last year. I'll have to look it up, but he was ranked in the top 3 or something. I mean, he had a ridiculous TD. Yeah. So technically, I am dropping him down to number 7, which, it shows how good he is. So this is kind of a downgrade. But you have to remember where they were last year, too.
Problem is, below him, there's just not guys I want to move above him. Because my number 8, this is the end of my tier 2, which it might even be my tier 3. It's really borderline. It's T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah, he's my number 8 as well.
It's weird for me because I'm not the biggest T.Y. Hilton fan. He should be ahead of these other guys. He should be below. He's almost a tier to himself in a way because I put him in tier 2, but is he really tier 2?
Yeah, I think he's a proven commodity as far as yardage goes.
But I don't consider him the same player as AJ, Dez, or Jordy.
The truth is, he's just not
right. He's basically. I have him in my tier 2 right now, but yeah,
I think he has a ceiling for his touchdown.
Yep.
And I mean, he's a very, very good wide receiver, and he's with a very good quarterback. If they get that line sorted out, he should be fine. He should do exactly what he's done the past few years. You'll be very happy if he. I just personally see value in other guys a little more. I mean, that would be Jordy Nelson. And that's why I have it at number 8. I get more excited about even 9 and 10, even though T.Y. is better than them.
Mm-hmm.
Has proven
I'm
himself.
actually much more excited about my 9th guy. And the more I'm looking at it, I might make some changes already. Maybe not yet. This is probably the smart thing to do. My number 9 is Amari Cooper. I really like Amari Cooper. I'm just big on him this year. I feel like he's going to have a huge breakout. I see it happening. And I'm really tempted to put him ahead of Hilton. They're basically like, it's almost a tie for me between these two. I'm probably more excited about Cooper. I really am. Just talking this out right now, I don't know. I might be making a change. Not many people do that. I say the consensus ranks do have Hilton 8. Those are the top 8 we talked about. So who's your number 9? Where do you have Amari first? Where do you have Amari?
I actually have Amari at number 9.
You do? Okay.
Yeah. So I was going to say, we thought we were going to deviate, but it looks like we're going to probably number 15 together. But I love Amari too. And what he's shown so far, he's already been extremely good. Mm-hmm. And I really like Derek Carr. Crabtree, having him across from him can only help him because Crabtree is silently a very, very good fantasy player.
Very solid.
So I love him. You've seen flashes of what he can do. I don't even think he's hit his potential yet. So I think his ceiling is so high.
That's why I'm really so big on him. Is I just feel like this guy he's one of those top tier talents. He really is. It hasn't quite happened yet, but I see the flashes of it. And I'm looking at my ranks, and before the season goes, you might see him ahead of Hilton in my ranks. You really might. Because I'm trying to think of this as I'm sitting here in a draft. I have Hilton up there, and I have Cooper up there. And honestly, I'm just trying to think about this, and I'm starting, in my head right now, I'm starting to lean towards Cooper in a way, so I might have to put him ahead.
I probably would too.
I'm starting to think I might have to put Cooper ahead of Hilton there.
Especially when you look at it too. I mean, last year he had 1,100 yards already in his second season with 5 touchdowns. If those touchdowns go up, he could easily surpass Hilton, because Hilton is a great wide receiver, and he's probably going to get 1,300 yards, but his TDs are always a problem. He probably gets 4 or 5 maybe.
This is where it's just an issue of, I feel like Hilton's probably more safe. Cooper's could,
and that's the thing too. It's kind of how you want to build your team.
That's kind of why I have the ranks as they are. But the problem is too, I think of this in this of having our teams that we have our league. I'm sitting there thinking I already have 2 wide receivers, so in my mind, I can take that big chance on Cooper and have a potential big player. So if I'm sitting here with no receivers, that's where I have to try to think of this.
Yeah.
And I don't really know if that's where I would go. I usually lean conservative, but for some reason right now, Cooper just is standing out to me. And I don't know. I like the guy a lot. We'll see where before the season starts. We got over 3 months. Let's see where he moves to, but he's going to be, he might pass Hilton, because I'm not in love with Hilton.
I'm not either, but I can't argue his numbers, and that's basically what I go off of.
So. Number 10, Jeff. Who's number 10? Let's see.
Number 10 is going to be another one that people are probably going to... this one might be the first one people are shocked at, but I have Keenan Allen all the way at number 10.
You see, Keenan Allen, I have seen him all over the place in rankings.
And I guess I'll say this too because we'll hit a few other guys that either have been hurt or been suspended, and I do have to treat it as if they're as healthy as I've heard they are, and that they're going to play a full season. So unless I already know they're going to miss games, I can't go out of my way. And same thing with Watkins. Mm-hmm. Eventually we'll get to him, and really, I mean, he would probably tumble on because you can't, you almost want to avoid him because you have no idea if he's going to play 3 games, 8, or a full year. But Keenan Allen doesn't scare me near as much as a Watkins player because we talked about it. Obviously, he got banged up. He tore his knee up. And then the year before that, he was hurt too. But that wasn't it was a football-related injury, but it wasn't something that was going to slow him down. It was a lacerated spleen, I believe.
Yep.
So the knee thing is kind of that worries me a bit, but it sounds like he's coming back. He was on... every time he plays, he was looking dominant, and he looked like he was going to be, especially in the PPR league, looks like he's going to dominate. Rivers loves him, and the fact that they got a few more weapons on that offense I think will only help him.
Yep. This is why I thought we might only have 9 of 10. I don't have him number 10. I actually thought about it, but I have him not at 14th right now,
and that's still.
And it's really
still very high for a guy that didn't play last year.
Yeah, it's probably more. It's more to do with the fact that as of today, he is not 100% healthy, and that's maybe where I'm leaning. If training camp starts and he's perfectly healthy, I think he might jump up a couple spots. Yeah. It's as of right now, as of today, he's just not 100% yet. So maybe that's where I'm leaning. I have plenty of time to change it, but he's 14th, which isn't bad.
No,
and this is an interesting one. I like seeing these because Fantasy Pros shows you a bunch of experts. He's as high as 6th on some. He's as low as 26th.
I was just saying, I thought I was high on him.
I've actually seen him lower than 26 on just individual ranks out there and some other experts that aren't on Fantasy Pros. So I've seen him as low as 32.
I can get both. 6 is a hard. I feel like 6 is a hard sell to me.
Yeah,
and that's for someone that absolutely loves the guy's ability. I think 36 is a little low, but at the same time, if you don't think he's going to be healthy, if you're doing your rankings that way, I totally get that.
Maybe they're just thinking too. As of today, he's not there.
Yeah, and that's fine with me.
But so my number 10 is Michael Thomas.
Okay,
and it's more. It's a mix of the player and more about opportunity. And in that Saints offense with no Brandon Cooks. And I already liked him more than Brandon Cooks last year. This was always the big thing was Thomas Cooks. I was on the Thomas bandwagon. And now I'm still there thinking he's top 10, but I'm never going to have him on my team because he's going to be... I'm not sold enough to have him as my top wide receiver. That's where he has to be. But
yeah,
it's just...
he's a risk-reward player. I mean, he absolutely showed up last year. As a rookie, he was phenomenal.
He was.
And you were way ahead of the curve as far as wanting to pick him up and really believing in his talent. I never got behind him quite enough early on when you could get him. But yeah, he's a tremendous talent. I mean, he caught a ton of balls. My only concern now is being the number 1 wide receiver and actually getting that number 1 cornerback on you and actually having people key on you. You have a full year of tape you can watch.
So it's going to be different.
Yeah, it will be different. But the truth is, we might have just scratched the surface. He really might be that good. So if you get him, you might be picking a wide receiver 2 as your number 1 guy, or you know what I mean, or you could be picking a top 5 guy.
For a rookie, 92 catches. 1,100 yards, 9 touchdowns. That's a rookie season. That's
incredible.
It's almost like he wasn't even talked about nearly enough for how good of a season he was having as a rookie. Really, but I'm not 100% sold on him as top 10, but when I go through my ranks, I think he has to be right about there. Where'd you actually have him?
I have number 11, okay, so he just missed out. But
he's there, and that's in mostly he's a 12-team league. He's a wide receiver 1.
And I tried to be as fair as I could looking at the stats, and with someone that has that much ability and has already done it for 1 year, and then you move up, so technically he should get more looks. You never know with New Orleans, but so I had to put him at number 11, and I'm really excited to see what he does. But I'm kind of with you as very hesitant to make him my number 1.
But there's not much history of a guy having that great of a rookie year and just falling off the face of the earth. It just probably doesn't happen.
I'm not too worried about him falling off. I guess I'm just worried that you're going to have to, especially in auction drafts, overpay because people will be paying for that phenom that he could be. Yep. He really might be.
All right, number 11 for me, Thomas for you. My number 11. Brandon Cooks. Thomas and Cooks together again. They just
next
are.
to each other. I think last year they were 8-9 or 9-10.
Oh wait,
right back to back.
And they were in
on
my
the same
ranks.
team.
They were always there. I didn't know how to rank them. In Cooks, I mean, he as much as I was never the biggest Brandon Cooks fan, it's not even because of his talent. It's just because of the up and down nature of how his stats were. It's just you didn't know for sure when he was going to hit. But when you look at his numbers, he had 1,100 yards and 8 touchdowns, just like Michael Thomas did. Now he's in that New England offense. I don't 100% know what that means, actually, though.
Yeah.
He could still be that hit and miss guy, or he could be more consistent. I don't know what to think because there's so many weapons there.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at too. I have Brandon Cooks at number 14.
Okay.
And I was a little hesitant on putting him too high because I don't know how he's going to fit into the offense, like you were talking about.
Yep.
But just looking at it, he is the most talented wide receiver they're going to have right off the gate. I don't know what that running game is going to look like.
Yeah,
Last year, they scored a ton of touchdowns that way.
Yeah.
So you wonder,
man.
Yeah,
who knows? Actually, speaking of the running, what does they break? Do you see what they did to LeGarrette Blount?
No, I saw that they offered him a 1-year thing.
Yeah. What they did was they offered him this obscure tender. It's called the May 9th tender, where basically, at this point, if he doesn't sign with a team by like July 22nd or something, he can only sign with the Patriots until like week 10. And if he does sign with somebody before July 22nd, Patriots automatically get a draft pick.
I don't know. I have no idea.
No one uses it because it's pretty much just screwing over the player.
Yeah.
Because now he has to sign by July 22nd, or he can only sign with the Patriots, and he's not planning on it. And,
only the Patriots would use.
Or otherwise, he has to wait till week 10, right? Like, okay, so that's my little. So if people saw that, like they offered him, it wasn't offering him that for him to actually come back to the team. As of this point, it was basically to get a draft pick on it.
It's so bizarre too because. We'll have like 6 running backs if he comes there.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know who would run the ball.
So that's the thing. So they have all these running backs. You don't know who's going to get the ball there. You don't know and James White and Deion Lewis and whatever, they're going to catch passes all the time. And then how many wide receivers are there? Okay, there's Cooks now. He's the number 1, but Edelman's good.
Oh, yeah.
Malcolm Mitchell was stepping up.
And Edelman will probably still be the number 1 wide receiver.
Chris Hogan was catching balls. There's even Danny Amendola. And then, of course, Gronk.
Yeah, and
Dwayne Allen.
Yeah.
Like
Gronk is number 1 when he's healthy. Like, he's always going to be the focus of that offense. But
it's just crazy.
Edelman is a great
like 10
wide
options.
receiver. Yeah. And that's the great thing about them is they're all extremely talented players, but not the overhyped bunch.
Yep.
So,
and I'm probably a little high then on Cooks. I have him 11. You said 14 for you.
But he could easily turn into Tom Brady's favorite pass catcher, and Edelman does fine in there. He doesn't catch a whole lot of touchdowns.
I don't feel like they've had a talent like Cooks at wide receiver in a while since.
No, they haven't. That's why I said he's going to step in and be the best wide receiver they have right away.
His consensus rank is 15th, so he's
okay. So right around mine actually. So that's good.
All right, number 12 then for you, Jeff. Who's your number 12?
I had to give this man some love. I know he always takes it on the chin because he's not flashy or anything, but I went Doug Baldwin. Seattle, he's just consistent, there's no one else there. I mean, Lockett has been hurt; he can't stay on the field. And Kurtz had an awful year. And if they get that line sorted out, at least healthy again, and Russell Wilson was playing the way he did at the end of the year, there's no reason his numbers won't stay the same, definitely, but he could improve on them even a little bit, I think. Because they started off really, really rough. I mean, Russell Wilson was getting hit left and right. He was hobbling around the field. Really, Baldwin was the only guy he could throw it to. Yeah. I mean, that's why Jimmy Graham was able to, put up decent numbers again, because there's no one else to throw it to.
No, he should have a good year again. It's still weird putting him up here for some reason. I don't know what it is in my mind.
Yeah, he's kind of like T.Y. Hilton for me, where I don't want to.
Love it, yeah.
And it's not because I have anything against him. It's just because he's not flashy or anything. I just think you kind of know what he's going to do, and it's not exciting, so people kind of downgrade him.
That year, 2015, just came out of nowhere with those touchdowns. It was like, what is this? Yeah. It's not like we didn't know who Doug Baldwin was before that. Just like, where did this touchdown thing come from? But I have him 15th, so we're still in that same range. Yeah. It's not. He's consistent. He's a good wide receiver too. If you can get him, if you have him as your second, that's very solid.
Yeah, he's wonderful. If you can
he
get him
should
there.
be consistent enough. So my number 12 was, I don't even know why it's DeAndre Hopkins. I still have him there.
I get it. I have a real hatred for DeAndre Hopkins just because he forces me to pick over like talent over situation.
And that's kind of, it's just like he almost has to be there. He had such a great season 2 years ago. It's just,
and even last year, it's not the fact that he was bad himself. Obviously, we talk about how bad the quarterback situation was, everything like that, and he still put up okay numbers. It's just the fact that you drafted him as a top 5 guy. So, but I have DeAndre Hopkins at number 15 overall, and that's pretty much because you just can't drop him anymore because he's so talented. You have to believe that he's going to improve on the numbers from last year.
Yeah, I think
I don't think there's any way he can go any lower. So,
it's just looking at these numbers, like I hope that 2015 just wasn't that just huge of an outlier. 111 catches and 1,500 yards and 11 touchdowns. That's just massive season.
That is massive, and he won't return to that until he has a decent quarterback. But I don't think. I mean, he's gonna hit. I think 1,100 yards with 9 touchdowns is incredibly reachable, and that would put him. That'd put him in the ballpark where he needs to be in order to be this high.
It's just like his yards per catch has gone down quite a bit. In 2014, it was 15.9. He actually had 2 less catches in 2014 than he did last year, but he had almost over 250 more yards. He was 15.9. His big year was actually only 13.7, and last year 12.2 yards per catch, so it's dropping.
Yeah, Osweiler.
Osweiler. And we'll see how good Savage is, unless Watson can get the job.
Yeah, they'll be.
That's an interesting spot because we just don't know really. I think it'll still be. They're going to say it's Savage right now, but if Watson impresses, he could take it.
Yeah.
All right, what are we at here?
13 for me.
13.
So 13 was Hopkins for you, or was that 12?
12 was Hopkins.
Okay. So 13 now.
We did get your 12
Yep,
in there.
Baldwin.
Right? Okay, yep. 13.
So 13, I picked Alshon Jeffrey.
As did I.
Oh, really? Oh, nice.
The same 13 there.
Yeah, so we don't have to argue about this one.
No, and he's actually consensus, number 13.
Oh, awesome. Well, it's not good for him as an unlucky number, but
consensus number 12 was Doug Baldwin.
Oh, nice. Look at me. I'm just following him.
You hadn't even just done this completely blind on ADP, and you didn't see that stuff. And
no, I actually haven't looked at the Pro Football Guys yet. But Alshon is a tremendous guy. I loved him when he was on the Bears too. I like the fact that he's kind of on a prove-it deal with Philly, which their offense looks like it's ready to make a jump. He's going to be the number 1 guy there, easily the best wide receiver. He's a great red zone guy to have. There's not much you can say about him. He's a pure talent. He does have to prove himself, so that's why he's not up higher. He could easily jump into the top 10, really, with Carson Wentz if he makes that jump. There's no doubt.
Yeah, the only knock on him is going to be health. And if he can stay healthy, that's really it. If it wasn't for any of those concerns, he would probably be top 10. He'd be up there. I could see him being up there right with these guys. I mean, he's almost there, but it's health is the only concern for him.
Yeah, last year it really took a hit on him.
Yep.
How people viewed him as well. Obviously, that the Chicago organization was kind of a little bit out of whack last year, so that kind of played a part of it. But I think he's going to jump back. I like it's kind of like starting anew.
Yep. So I think we already got both of our 14s, and I had Keenan Allen, and you had Cooks, right?
Yep.
All right, so we got that. My 15 was Baldwin. Who was your 15?
DeAndre Hopkins.
Okay, so we got through there. Number 16.
So actually, through 15, we actually have the same players. They're just jumbled.
We had this. Yeah, we did, right? Exactly. We had the same top 15 players. So that's
what I kind of guessed is 15, and then now is where we're really going to. Well, at least I assume you know.
My number 16, Demaryius Thomas. That's my number 16.
Oh, wow. Okay, you have him at 16. All right.
This is more of...
sell this to me. Because this one, this is the first one immediately right off the bat, of course. I have Demaryius Thomas at 23.
Okay.
And I thought I was being kind of gracious on this one.
Before I'm going to check out Demaryius Thomas's consensus here. I'm just kind of curious how we are on this. So you have him 23.
Yeah.
Which you're on the low end. His low on this, he's 17th overall. His low end, though, people have him as low as 24. So you're not over there. High as 11. That's a little crazy. 11 is too much. It's more of this. It's the talent here. This situation. It's kind of. I put this spot at. I think the guys I have below him.
So it's the opposite of Baldwin or opposite of Hopkins.
Right. It's just like I think he's good enough to just overcome the quarterback situation. And just be good enough. I think as a wide receiver 2, I like him as a wide receiver 2. He's not going to be that top guy he was with Peyton Manning in his prime, but Peyton Manning in his prime Denver days. But he's still very solid. He had 90 catches last year. He had over 1,000 yards, 5 touchdowns. So he's still a very solid player. I think probably a lot of people were down on him because he wasn't putting up the huge numbers like we expected him to do. So it might be more of a one of those situations where it's we perceived he should be a lot better because of where he was getting drafted, and he still was a fine player. He just wasn't wide receiver 1 player. That's pretty much what I think it comes down to. And I think he's a very safe wide receiver 2. I feel like they're going to have improvement at quarterback. It's still going to be either Simeon or Lynch, but I still feel like whoever it is will be better than they were last year. I don't think it'll be worse than last year. That's kind of my thought on that.
I can get behind that because last year he was number 19th in the in ESPN rankings. So I probably am a little bit low on him.
But I can't see any of these other players, though.
Exactly. I have people jumping over him. He is wonderful, but to your point, I think you're right as far as he's just that talented. He's shown it this many times, and especially how he played last year. Instead of overpaying for him, you're actually probably going to get him for the correct price this time around.
Yeah, I think so.
So that is a positive of him actually. Or that situation.
If I can get him around where you have him ranked, I'd love that. That's almost what in a 10-team league. That's wide receiver 3. Can you imagine him as your wide receiver 3?
Oh, yeah,
that's wonderful,
unbelievable. Yeah,
great. If you can get him as wide receiver 3, you're really feeling good about it. So who is your 16th then?
I'm not dropping him as much as other people are, but I'm going Devontae Adams.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, I am dropping him because last year he was in the top 10. He finished. Yep. Dropped him down to number 16 because I think that TD will regress a bit because he just went crazy on it. And I can see a Geronimo, Randall Cobb taking some looks away. Jordy, assuming he's healthy, is obviously going to be a target monster. But he played so well last year.
And I feel like he just kind of something clicked.
Absolutely. I think it'd be crazy if he wasn't in everyone's top 20.
I have him 19th.
I don't see any reason he shouldn't be. Yep. The only reason you would probably push him farther down the list is you're just assuming that that his touchdowns will evaporate completely, yep. Which I think that would be a large jump to make.
And right now, consensus-wise, he's the 18th wide receiver.
Okay,
so we're right. You're 16, I'm 19. He's right there. If he puts up those numbers again, you're getting a steal.
Absolutely.
I think people are just maybe doing my old motto of I have to see it again.
Right.
And I think that's what you got to do with
your catchphrase
with Adams. And I can see that, but if I get him as a wide receiver 2, I think you'll be fine. But if you get him as a wide receiver 3, because people's perception of him isn't as this top player yet, again, you're going to be just loving life if he's your wide receiver 3. You will. He's going to be. I think he'll be great. And I have him 19th. It's just more of. I can definitely see him being higher. It's just kind of okay. Some of these guys ahead of him, I'm sold on. I know they'll be good. I guess.
And, he is a number 2. Everyone before him was the number 1 wide receiver on their team.
Yep. And that's part of our Jordy talk earlier. Is we think maybe Adams will start taking more of that away. So we'll see where that goes. So let's see here. 17 for me and you. I have Terrell Pryor 17th.
Oh, nice.
I have him all the way up there. Problem with Pryor, you just don't know.
Yeah,
with this offense, it's a new situation.
I'm very intrigued by that, but
it's okay. He's only done it for 1 year. It's a brand new offense, but Cousins, as much as I'm maybe not sold on Cousins as an NFL quarterback, even fantasy wise, he's great. And he's Pryor 77 catches last year, 1,000 yards, 4 touchdowns, and that's with Cleveland. That's with no quarterback, with a terrible quarterback situation. I just feel like he's going to be the go-to guy here. There's Crowder, there's other guys. I think he's their number 1, and so I put him all the way to number 17, and that's probably a little higher than some, but
yeah, I like
it.
I like that though. I have Terrell Pryor at number 21.
Okay,
and
you're closer to the consensus.
I was going to say I wanted to put him higher. The only reason I didn't, well, first of all, I haven't seen him on that offense yet.
Exactly,
and the fact that that whole wide receiving crew is so new that I don't know how it's going to kind of come out. Crowder's been there. Obviously, he's going to get a lot of receptions.
And who knows about Doxson? Is he going to take a step?
You don't know. Reed, if he stays healthy. So I kind of like all of them on that offense. But I just don't know because it's so brand new that I could be...
It's hard to say.
Yeah, exactly. But I do like him a ton, 21. I think he has the most upside. I think his touchdowns could just skyrocket because he's such an athlete and he's so tall. Yeah. So I really do like him. I think he has tremendous upside.
All right. Then who's your 17th? We got
17th, I hate myself for it, but I couldn't drop him any lower, is Allen Robinson.
All right.
A couple years ago, he just went bonkers. I think getting the running game going will help him, and I think he's just too talented to keep down. I think finally this year where you're going to draft him is going to come back down to earth. So you're not drafting him as a top 5 guy anymore, which is good.
I have him at 21. So you have what, 17? I have 21.
I was going to say we just flip-flopped on the trail prior.
We're actually lower on Robinson than most people.
Really?
Yeah. He is consensus ranked right now on Fantasy Pros. Go there. He's 14th.
All right.
Yeah. I don't...
Wow. How high does he go then?
His highest rank is 11th. His lowest is 22nd on the off these ones. I mean, we've talked about him when we, not too long ago when we did the preview for his team and stuff, but those numbers that year were just so crazy. I think he's going to have a step up. He's not going to be complete disappointment, and I'm not as down on Bortles as everybody is. I still think there's something there. I just don't see him as 14th. I don't see him there yet. I don't want him as... Again, this is a guy, if he can be my wide receiver 3, it's going to be amazing. I could be okay with him as my wide receiver 2. Just he has... This is more of I think we're both ranking him here just because of what he did that 2 years ago, and neither of us are sold on it.
No, I mean, he comes with a ton of risk. As you saw, he could do what he did last year, and that'd be, I'd be 10 spots way too high.
I'm probably going to avoid him in a lot of situations. I really feel it, because it just depends on price. Obviously, it's all about price. I still... Maybe he will be undervalued. Maybe the price will be okay. I just feel like it's going to go for a little too much. I can't put that much risk into it.
Yeah. I think last year is probably as low as he's going to drop, which is kind of a good thing because, between 2 years, you kind of know as low as he's going to go and as high as he can go.
Yep.
So I'm guessing that you're just going to be in the middle, and that's pretty much where I have him.
Yep. All right. My number 18, Michael Crabtree. Just consistent. Just consistent. Yeah. He's not going to be amazing all the time, but I think he's going to be consistent enough where he's a pretty decent wide receiver 2. A lot of these guys, this is all that situation. You'll be okay with him as a wide receiver 2, but if you get him as a wide receiver 3, much, much better situation. But he's solid. Where do you have Crabtree?
Crabtree number 19.
Okay, so we're right there. Yeah. It's kind of where he is, back end wide receiver 2. He's very solid.
Yeah, he's another one that I don't worry about getting any points or anything like that. It's just I'm not excited about his upside.
Yep. Yeah, so 18, 19, his consensus is 20. So he's right there.
Yeah, he's kind of like a Baldwin. I mean, not as good as Baldwin, but he's kind of like that, where I look at him, I know exactly what I'm going to get, but it's hard to get amped up about it. But those are the types of guys that you get for usually better value than what they go for. Yep. And those are the kind of guys that really help you win week to week.
You're going to be able to get him for a good price. That's what I like about him. And then you're 18. Did we get your 18 yet?
No, 18 is I have Moncrief.
Moncrief. Okay, this is I was all over the board with Moncrief. I didn't know what to do with Moncrief.
Yeah, I'm probably going higher than... Actually, I don't know if I'm going higher than everyone. What do they have him for consensus? I really don't know. Okay, so I am higher on him. All right.
Yeah, and I went all over the board with him. I didn't know what to do, and I ended up putting him 25th.
Okay.
And I had him actually as high as 20th, I think, at one point. I had him as low as 30th, and I just kept... I don't know. I don't know what to expect from him. I really don't. I think if he's healthy, Andrew Luck's healthy, going to be a steal. And we just got to wait and see. Luck had surgery, so hopefully he's actually going to be healthy finally. And if he is, Moncrief out there healthy, Hilton, should be very good situation. So
yeah, and I think Moncrief can play kind of all over the field. He's a little bit bigger than T.Y., and T.Y. is obviously going to demand a ton of attention. So Moncrief, I think, will be able to kind of run wild over there. I really do like him. I like him for a bounce back year, and I like him for the value. But yeah, on that passing offense, sky's the limit for whoever kind of catches fire. So yeah. I'm really excited about Moncrief. I'm higher than most. I just found out, but but I really do like him. I think he's one of them that you should definitely keep an eye on for a steal later on.
All right, where are we at? My 19 was Adams.
My 19 was Crabtree.
20. Sammy Watkins.
I have Sammy Watkins too.
Sammy Watkins. Okay, I talked about earlier. I wasn't.
Man,
I was some of these guys. I wasn't worried about injury history with Julio. Maybe a little bit more on Keenan Allen, maybe not. But Sammy Watkins, this is all about injury. This is completely. Honestly, if he'd be for sure, very close to top 10 if it wasn't for his injury risk, because this guy is good. Like talent wise, he's a top 8 talent. I would say he's way up there. He should be with this, with the Dez Bryant, AJ Green up there, talent wise, in that kind of range. But he's injured all the time, so I don't know. I can't put I can't put an investment into him like in an auction draft. I can't do it.
No, and
I've been burned by him in the past, and maybe that's part of it. I just can't. And now Zay Jones is out there now with Buffalo, which hopefully will give him somebody else for that, to take some pressure off him. But I don't. Is there any way? If you had to put money down on this right now, is there any way you would bet on Sammy Watkins even playing 14 games?
No,
like you wouldn't even 16. You would say absolutely not.
Yeah,
but even 14, I wouldn't put money. I'd be worried. That foot injury lingered all year.
I mean, he missed half the season,
and he never had surgery. That's actually kind of an issue to me. It's a weird thing where it wasn't like something they could actually go and correct. It just had to be corrected by rest. And even when he came back, he wasn't healthy. I don't know. But he has to be up there because talent yet. But man, and he's actually 16th consensus, so we're a little bit lower. But I think a lot of people too are ranking him based off of potential that he could be that good. So
yeah, he's just way too big of a risk for me. I mean, that's what drove him down to number 20, and even down to number 20, I'm staring at him and I'm looking at the people below him, and if I think that he's gonna be healthy, I'm gonna grab the biggest steal of the draft, because if he actually plays all 16 games, his numbers could just be huge.
And that shows like with these ranks right now, and people right now, how they rank is all over the board because you don't really have to have perfect ranks yet. He's as high as 9th, as low as 32nd. So that 32nd's basing off injury. That 9th guy is just saying, okay, this is where he could be. That's kind of what that looks like to me.
And even that, though, I think 9th is way too high because you haven't proven it, and you're also on a team that doesn't exactly have a prolific passing offense.
Yep.
I like Tyrod Taylor, but I don't think that he's. I don't think that offense is built to pump Sammy Watkins for 15 touchdowns or something.
All right, my 21 was Allen Robinson.
Okay.
Who was your? Did we talk?
21 was Terrell Pryor for me.
Yep. And then I get 22. This is where I actually dropped my tier stop here. You had Moncrief up there. I had Moncrief a little bit lower. I can see that, but this is actually where my next tier would start. And I'm still not like in love with this pick, but I picked Jarvis Landry, number 22.
Okay.
It's just consistency. He's going to get catches. He's not going to hurt you. And so where I have him ranked, I mean, we look at this as 22nd would be like in our league. We have a 10-team league, so he's a wide receiver 3. And I think that's a very good wide receiver 3. Or he's a back-end wide receiver 2 in 12-team leagues. But with that rank, he's consistent. He gets catches. That's pretty much it with him. You're not going to expect everything. You're not going to be just getting 15 touchdowns, but he's going to be consistent and be a good player.
Yeah, I feel like he's my number 24th.
Yeah.
So right there with you pretty much. I think he's the third wide receiver that we talk about that I can't get excited about, but every time he shows up on my roster,
he's fine.
I feel good about it.
And consensus-wise, he's 21st, so we're kind of in that range. Mm-hmm. He's fine. Who's your 22nd player?
22nd, it's going to be another one. Maybe have him higher than most because of the talent and as long as he's on the field, but Martavis Bryant.
Okay, yeah, this is another one that's just
and
people don't know what to do with.
Yeah, and he will be all over the place, but as far as I know, he's reinstated. He's going to play. Yep. When he does, he's freaking phenomenal. He's going to be the number 2 guy now. There's no one in his way. I think this guy could just be a monster for touchdowns, definitely. Yardage, everything. And Antonio Brown on the other side of him, I mean, this offense, you always say it and you always wish the best for Pittsburgh, but I mean, the only bad thing about it is you have Antonio Brown and Bell. That's probably the only knock you can have, besides for the fact that he might do something stupid.
I think that offense is good enough to sustain another great player.
So I have him at 22. I feel very strongly about it. I think he could be a steal in the draft.
He definitely could be.
Yeah.
I have him 31st, but that's just don't know the situation.
Yeah,
yet.
Absolutely.
And still, though, out of these other guys in this range, he has the most potential to jump up easily, I would say. I mean, without a doubt, he could be up there. So I put him, but 31st right now, I can see him jumping up quite a bit. All right, where are we at here? 23
for me was Demaryius Thomas, which we've already talked about.
My number 23 was, I went back to back with guys I think are just consistent. Larry Fitzgerald. He's solid. He's still gonna get a good amount of catches. The yards are starting to probably tail off. The yards per catch is going to be lower. The touchdowns might not be there, but he's still a target in the end zone. He's almost more like a tight end at this point, it feels like, the way he plays. So he's just consistent, and I think you don't have to pay 23rd ranked player to get Fitzgerald. That's the nice thing about him. You don't have to pay to get him as a 23rd ranked player. You're going to have to pay like 50th, 40th, 50th range. He's not going to go for much in an auction. So that's what I like about him.
It actually works out well. It wraps up my top 25 because he is in my number 25th.
Yeah.
And what I like about him, too, is I think he's a good pick for the first half of the season.
Exactly.
Because last year he ended up the number 17th wide receiver.
Yep.
And he obviously that was a little heavier on the front half of the season when he was feeling fresh. And then he really, after probably, I think it was week 11, he really took a downturn and didn't catch a touchdown until week 17. So if you can get him and then maybe trade him away, and even if you don't, if this guy is one of them, if you have him as a wide receiver 3 or you have him like your 4th wide receiver, that is amazing. And he's so consistent. Yeah. He's such a wonderful player. And who knows, maybe that passing game will get a little more on track. Last year it really was all over the place. Carson Palmer was hurt. He had no one else to throw it to. So I feel very confident that Fitzgerald would be fine there. I don't think he's going to be any lower.
Yep. So your 23rd player?
That's 25th. So 23rd, Demaryius Thomas. 24th, Jarvis Landry. And then finished out my 25 and Larry Fitzgerald.
So the only other player to talk about here for me is my 24th player is Golden Tate.
Okay.
It's just number 1 wide receiver in the Lions offense, which is solid. He stepped it up at times there at the end of the year. I'm hoping that continues. It's not guaranteed, though. So I'm not excited about what he's going to do. It's hard to say with that Lions offense. They can be all over the board. I mean, look how great Marvin Jones at the beginning of the year, and Tate did nothing. Then Tate stepped up. I mean, who's to say that won't happen again? But I put him 24th. And where do you got him?
He'll be on the next week, but I have him at number 29.
Okay, so not
last
far
year
off.
No, and last year he was number 23 overall, even after he started slow. This is one of those guys that he could easily jump up. I don't know what to expect from the Lions offense necessarily. Yeah. I like Golden Tate for the most part. Marvin Jones, if he had any sort of consistency, I think it might hurt Tate's. And if Ebron kind of comes out stronger, they throw a few to Abdullah. I like Tate, but he's kind of one that worries me because they were so up and down last year.
Yeah, then my 25th was Moncrief, so that wraps up the top 25. We only went a couple players into the bottom half of the top 25, top 25 to 50. We, for the most part, were very consistent among these ranks.
Yeah, I think Golden Tate was the only one of yours that was outside of mine.
Was that the only one?
Yeah, I think we were jumbled heavily, but I think for the most part.
Martavis Bryant was the only other one I had out there.
So we had a couple.
Yeah, but that's not much at all.
No, not at all.
All right, so I think that's going to wrap it up for basically the top 25 wide receivers. We'll be back in a day or two with 25 through 50-ish, because I think when you get down there, that's where they're going to get a little crazy.
Yeah, those will be. We'll talk about quite a few.
We'll probably be like 25 through 60 when it's all said and done. But those ones will probably go a little quicker because you don't know. These guys are all over the board, and there might be one or two that I'm really excited about, but a lot of them they could go either way. So we'll get into that. But remember, get your reviews in, send them to us, get into the contest. Check us out on Twitter at the FF Prophet, fantasyfootballprophet.com. Send us an email, fantasyfootballprophet@gmail.com. We will talk to you guys next time.